Vince, are you ready for rapid fire?
Oh, baby, let's go. Wrap it
All right.
up.
I just, we got to jump in there because, again, Vince is on a little bit of a timeline here
A
tonight.
little bit.
Let's start with this. I don't understand why Domer Pyle is so down. He's made a couple Riley Leonard. He says, is it time to move on from Riley Leonard?
He just visited yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, what? How fast do you want this to go, my man? Like, he was just here yesterday.
For 2 days he was here as
Relax. Yeah, he's been gone less time than he was here.
Right.
Like, just bump the brakes, man. No.
Give us more, Domer. Like, tell us what he had these visits scheduled with other schools. Like, we knew that he was going to visit some other places. Did you really expect that he was going to commit before he left? Or, like, did you read Ryan Roberts had some great stuff with him, some great quotes, a great interview that he had with him, and it sounded like
it went well.
Everything went great. He loved the place. So, but he had scheduled other visits. So,
and whether he takes those or not still remains to be seen. He hasn't taken them yet. Yeah. So, until you see a picture of him in Ohio State gear or picture of him in Auburn gear or whatever the case may be, like, again, he was just here yesterday, man. It's okay. Everybody relax. Let it play out, baby.
Pump
As
the brakes.
D-Rock Irish says.
Go into the
let
weekend.
It play out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everyone seems pretty solid still, like when you listen to the national chatter about where they think Riley Leonard is going to end up. So we'll see. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. Oh, so now we're on to Will Howard. Okay.
He's not an option right now.
No.
Has Will Howard visited Notre Dame? Did I miss that?
Right. There are a lot of guys you can want, but that doesn't mean it's realistic.
Nor does it mean he's a good fit at Notre Dame.
Right.
Like, I mean, yeah. So just relax. Everybody relax.
Chill. Fill in the blank. It's blank that Blake Fisher and Marist Liufau are the only two Notre Dame players to declare for the draft this week.
It's odd. I'm actually kind of shocked by the whole situation. I mean, we're seeing all these things get leaked about who's going to opt out and all of these different things, and it's literally been a week, and we've got two guys. And I'm a little bit shocked by that. Like, I get spacing it out so guys can have their moment and, all of those different things, and that's great. But didn't Marist, put his thing out on, like, Monday?
Yeah.
And now it's Friday? I mean, like, it just feels odd to me that we haven't heard more from these guys. That's all. It just feels odd.
I agree. I really thought that the way Marcus Freeman talked when we got to talk to him in his Sun Bowl press conference on Monday, when he said that he was going to let the guy, he knows they know who's playing and who's not.
It's
he was
like
going to let those guys do their
the
thing.
Worst kept secrets on the planet.
I know. And so, like, I kind of expected like a slow trickle, maybe one a day for the rest of the week or something like that. Instead, we got Marist Liufau on one end of the week, and we got Blake Fisher at the end of the week. I thought that we would just really know by now.
In my
especially
head,
when you're factoring in, it's not just the draft guys, but there are potential opt-out guys as well. Other guys who might be deciding not to play in the bowl. And there's probably 4 or 5 total that were kind of still,
I think
maybe
I counted
even
5.
more than that overall. Yeah, that we're still kind of waiting on.
I counted 5 in my head of guys that I'm like 95% sure are opting out of the bowl game and moving on, whatever that moving on means.
Mm-hmm.
But I counted like 5 guys. Like I'm shocked we've only heard from 2. I'll just say that.
It's like, if you know. What are you waiting on at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're not practicing. You're not practicing because Marcus Freeman said he knew everybody that was opting out. So I don't know. It just feels weird.
Couple questions from the chat that I'll throw in here in a minute. But first, on this same subject, let's kind of check our confidence on some other Notre Dame guys who could still declare. This is just declare for the draft. We're not talking opt out. Okay. So we're going to go scale of 1 to 10 for each of these guys. How confident are you they will declare for the draft?
Okay, so 10 is they're going to the draft.
10 is they're going to the draft. 1 is
back.
Probably coming back. Okay. So let's start with Joe Alt. Scale of 1 to 10. How confident are you he's going to declare?
Like a 10. I would be shocked if he came back. I would be ecstatic, but I would be absolutely shocked if he came back.
Yes. completely in the same boat. Again, like this is a guy projected maybe even a top 5 pick.
You can't pass that up, man.
10.
Like
right.
That's
the definition of life-changing money.
Correct.
This one goes to 11.
Yeah. The whole point of going to college is to prepare you for the rest of your life. Joe Alt is sufficiently prepared for the rest of his life. It's time to go. It's time to go.
Right. Audric Estime, scale of 1 to 10. How confident are you? He declares
9.5. 9.5. He's another guy that I would tell him to go for all the reasons that we've talked about. You know, the shelf life of a running back is super short. You only get so many carries. My brother, thank you for hanging. It's time to go.
Yep. And again, running backs on average have the shortest career of any position in the NFL. Go get your money as soon as you can. Save the hits on your body. Get as much money as you can. They're the ones who need to get their clock started so they can, so that he can hopefully do really well for 4 years, get to that second contract and make some money, because it's getting harder even for running backs to get that second contract, and so, so I'm 9+ on Audric Estime as well, that he will declare for the draft.
Yeah. I've got John's throwing some shade here. It says, becoming obvious that the people at Notre Dame in charge of releasing info work far fewer hours than you guys do. Are you saying we don't work very much? Is that what you're saying? Like, I can't tell.
I think he's saying that we work more.
We do. But like he's saying they work so little, like he's not setting the bar very high.
Like even less than us,
Yeah, like that's the way I took it. I don't know how I feel about that, John.
Sean 7, Vince becoming less obvious. People at Notre Dame in charge of releasing info far fewer. Well, and I mean now, in fairness, this is about when the player is ready to, release the info as well.
This is also true.
It's not just about, the people doing, they might help them put together the graphic and the slide. And all that.
And they're definitely coming from Notre Dame. You can tell which one's the Notre Dame graphics and, that kind of a thing. So
Right. Exactly.
Just messing with you, John. But, I hope you don't think that we don't put in, he said, I'm so sensitive. Oh, you're right. I am kind of sensitive. What can I say?
John said, saying that we work more.
I got thin skin, man.
Okay, so how about Xavier Watts? Scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you? He declares for the draft.
I'll tell you what, Sean, a week ago, before like the Nagurski Award and all the All-America, nods and all of these different things, I was like a 2, like a 1 or a 2. Like he's coming back, baby, and I'm fired up about it. And now he's the best defensive player in the country. He's on all the All-America lists. And so that number has risen for me. I'll put it at like a 5 right now, like kind of like a 50-50 at this point. Like I think you have to ask the question, and I think it's a legitimate question. It's like, what more can you do? What more can you do?
Well, now again, I spent a lot of time looking at, like Mel Kiper, Matt Miller, Field Yates, all these different position by position draft evaluations. He is not in anyone's top 5 at safety.
Okay.
And he was only rarely, he was in maybe like one top 10 even. So I think they think he's got a lot of work to do.
Well, that's different. Okay. Gotcha.
So, and it's, that's not me knocking him. It's just, again, I'm looking at what the draft evaluators are saying, and listening to Xavier Watts earlier this week with some of the stuff that he was saying. Like, he thinks that there are still things that he can work on and become even better and put himself into a better position next year to be one of those highly considered safeties. So scale of 1 to 10 that he declares for the draft, I'm going to go even a little bit lower. I'm like in the 3.5 range. I think, like, listening to him this week, he's listening to some, to external evaluations and stuff like that, and hearing him kind of self-critique a little bit. It sounded like maybe he's leaning much more toward coming back than maybe I would have thought a week or so ago. So that would be really good news for Notre Dame if Xavier Watts comes back for another year.
You're not kidding. When I like I said, I was fairly convinced because he talks about the education. And by the way, I can't even tell you how much I loved his comment about playing in the bowl games. Like, I want to play with my guys. Like,
right.
Yes. Like, that was refreshing.
See, and I think that's a good sign too. The fact that he is saying that he's going to play, So
yeah, exactly. Which I love that. I absolutely love that. I know the education piece is very important to him and all of that as well. So, and Stime says he's got an opportunity to be the captain. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So he does have some Notre Dame things to achieve.
And he talked about that. He talked about wanting to be a bit like a JD Bertrand type leader, getting guys fired up and, getting guys motivated and stuff like that. I think it was all good signs to hear some of the things that he was saying earlier this week.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Me too. How about Howard Cross? This is like we've got the two interior defensive linemen, Cross and Mills. We'll obviously do Howard Cross first. Scale of 1 to 10. What are the odds you think he declares?
So Cross, I'm putting it at like a 1. I just think he's coming back. I feel really good about it. Mills, I'll put it like a 3. I think he's probably coming back, but we'll see. We'll see. Like, I'll feel better once I see the announcement if it actually comes. So that's where I'm at. I'm
putting each of them at a 3 because, like each of these guys has shown up in different people's. Again, the interior defensive, obviously they play different positions, but for draft purposes, you're basically either an edge or you're a defensive tackle, DL, whatever they want to call it. So they've each shown up sort of sporadically, but I think that they both have things that draft people, that NFL people would like to see them get a little bit better at. I mean, they both had, like, Mills, especially as the season went on, I think as he got more comfortable with that full-time role inside, he really started to take off. And Howard Cross was just a beast from start to finish this year. That the biggest thing with him, maybe like if he can add a little more bulk, to his frame, for being that nose type guy. So I'm putting both of them at a 3. I think that there's a good shot that both of these come back. Both of these guys come back because, again, I think that they both have things both physically and from an XO standpoint that they probably feel like they can be better and put themselves in even better positions next year.
Yeah, agreed. Those are huge gets for Notre Dame to keep them around too. That makes the defensive line
absolutely.
I mean, if that ends up happening, if that comes to fruition, right? That huge. Sean, by the way, whatever happened to the announcements about sticking around? Did those come after the bowl game? You know what I remember?
Good question. Do they do that anymore?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm curious now. With the transfer portal being what it is, ending on January 2nd, it's so quick after the bowl games. Like, I'm curious. I mean, maybe they all happen after the bowl games. Maybe I'm rushing things a little bit, but I remember there being all those announcements. I'm sticking around, whatever. So I'm ready for some of that.
Question from Andre. Do you have any idea right now what the scholarship tally looks like, Vince? Have you kept track of that?
See if it has been updated up to this point.
Because I think it started off, was it 89, including the incoming freshman potential?
I've got his depth chart that he has that was updated. No, that's a ways back. It says 88, but it still has Blake Fisher on there, so you can put that at 87.
That's 87. Okay.
You can put that at 87. I want to see if... Yeah, so 87, I think, is where they're at right now.
Okay.
So...
Well, that's pretty good.
Still have 20 offensive linemen. Something's got to give.
Right. And I think that there are something does have to give, but like Irish Steel 63 asking if they dip into the portal for a tackle, I would not be surprised. This is something that I've heard that offensive tackle, because they've got a lot of guys I think that they are pretty confident in with the interior, but tackle is obviously a premium. Now, can get a little bit dicier, I think, finding a guy, one who's the right, academic profile, as well as a fit profile, all those different things, who can actually come in, might end up being a right tackle as opposed to a left tackle, depending on what you find. But I think that is definitely a position they'd like to add, though.
There was a Wisconsin tackle that went into the portal, I believe, today. And that's, obviously you've got the Rudolph connection there. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a possibility if the kid's any good. I don't know if he's good, bad, or indifferent. I honestly have no idea. So that would be a question for Brian, because I'm sure he's already watched 7 games of this guy since he jumped into the portal. But so, yes, I do think tackle is on their minds, especially with both Blake and Joe. Because, look, when you are looking at your depth chart and you're, projecting and all that, you don't think that guys are going to leave after their third true season at Notre Dame. Like that's just not how you figure out your depth chart when it comes to offensive linemen, right? And so they've got to kind of fix that hole in the depth chart, and they're loaded in the middle. They're not really loaded outside.
Yeah. Sloppy Joe wants to know if we think Blake's knee injury during his freshman year was a huge reason for him declaring.
Huge reason? No, I don't think it's a huge reason. He started 26 games straight, and he's been just fine. So, no, I think that's well in the rearview mirror. Was it a partial reason, like a low single-digit percentage? Maybe. But I do not think it was a large decision, no, or huge, is his words.
I would agree with that. I think it's more about getting that clock started, that whole that whole thing.
Yeah, I agree.
That pro clock and moving on and all that kind of stuff. When you have an agent and you're turning pro, agents want to cash their checks too.
Yeah. So, no doubt about it.
Leave it at that, I guess.
And somebody said there's more portal announcements to come after the bowl game. Again, is that possible? Sure. The problem is the game's on the 29th. The portal closes.
It's going to have to happen pretty quickly. Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be able to do your official visits, and, you better know exactly where you're going to land if that's the case. And that's tough. That's really, really tough in that short amount of time. So I think the next time you're going to see portal entries is going to be the spring session.
I think you see, just like with Tyler Buckner last year, you'll see some guys stick it out, see what they can accomplish in the spring, battle for some positions in the spring. And with some of these guys leaving, there's going to be a lot more opportunities for some other guys who haven't had some opportunities before. So, yeah, I think that it's less likely that it happens immediately after the bowl, and much more likely that it happens in the spring window in April than it,
Yeah, there's going to be more movement after spring. There absolutely will be.
Yeah. There always is. It's just something that we've got to get used to at this point. So wanted to make sure that there were no there's a question from Bubs. With tight end numbers down to start next season, do you think they would consider adding a tight end in the portal, preferably a blocking specialist?
I disagree wholeheartedly that they're low on tight end numbers.
I mean, they'll get Kevin Bauman back.
They got 6.
He can stay healthy. Yeah.
6 scholarship tight ends. You've got Kevin Bauman, Mitchell Evans, Davis Sherwood, Eli Raridan, Cooper Flanagan, and Jack Larson.
Yeah.
How many tight ends do you need? Would be my question. They have 6. No, they're not going to the portal for a tight end.
And obviously, they think very highly of Eli Raridan. There's still a ton of upside.
Oh, yeah. And clearly
the biggest question for most of these guys now is just health, because they've all been injured at some point or another, some of them multiple times now.
Right. Flanagan, they're very high on, obviously. And look, there's a reason that Stays left. I mean, he got passed up by 2 guys, and then you've got Mitchell Evans coming back as well. There was a chance that Stays is going to be the 4th tight end. He's not going to stick around for that. He's just not. So that's why he left. And so, yeah, the depth at tight end is just fine.
2 former Irish players made commitments today. Nana Osafo-Mensah going to TCU. And as the show was going on, I saw on Twitter Joey Tanona, who medically retired and just recently announced that he was coming back and entering the portal. He is committed to Purdue. What do you think about that?
Okay. First of all, good for Joey.
Yeah.
Because you hate to see guys have to medically retire. You kind of want to go out on your own terms. So that's awesome. That's super awesome for him. And I'm glad Nana found a spot quickly. Obviously still in a Power 5 conference, which is awesome, down in Texas. So yeah, I think that's great for both guys. I like seeing where these guys who hit the portal are going to end up, especially guys that left on good terms with Notre Dame. And it sounds like these two guys found really good landing spots.
Yeah, I mean, Nana gets to go home. He's, literally from Fort Worth. He gets to go home, play in his hometown. Family can be there, see him play for a year. So that's great. Joey Tanona, just a great story. There was actually on that Miami Dolphins in-season Hard Knocks, I can't remember if it was this week or last week, this guy named Jalen Phillips. It reminded me a little bit of Tanona because when he was at UCLA, he was a defensive player, just injury after injury, apparently, and he medically retired for a couple of years himself. And then he kind of, rested up, got healed, went to the University of Miami and turned into a first-round draft pick. And unfortunately, he just got injured a week or two ago with the Miami Dolphins. I think it might have been an Achilles or something like that. So very, very unfortunate, where he is right now. But from a college standpoint, just looking at Joey Tanona, still maybe a bright future out there in front of Tanona if he can kind of put those injuries behind and come back himself. So
I love it.
Good for him. I hope it works out for him.
Yeah. Yep.
Ray wants to know who's likely to start on the offensive line in the Sun Bowl, assuming Alt is gone as well, and are they likely to run their normal offense given their current wide receiver situation? I mean, someone said Emil Wagner's going to play wide receiver.
Oh, boy.
I think that'd be a little bit different look. But
yeah, it would definitely be a different look. No, offensive line is going to be Tosh Baker at left tackle, Pat Coogan at left guard. It'll be Ashton Craig at center. It'll be
Billy
Schrauth, thank you, at right guard, and then
Emil
Wagner at right tackle. And
that's what we would expect unless something drastically changes during bowl prep.
And as far as will they run their normal offense, yeah, they're going to run their normal offense. And again, I will remind everybody, they have the exact same amount of scholarship wide receivers in this bowl game that they had in last year's bowl game, and I don't remember that being an issue then. It's going to be fine. They got plenty. They're good.
Right. And it's one game. Ray. It's one game and then the off season. So they still have some tight ends out there. And you might even though they would potentially most likely we think be without Audric Estime, we didn't see as much of Devin Ford, with the exception of some situations down the stretch. Maybe a chance for maybe we see a little more of the 21 personnel from time to time, just doing some different things with personnel like we saw earlier. My point is whether or not we specifically see that, there are some other options and some different things they can do. Like they did have Ford and Love out there together, at times earlier in the season. Again, didn't see as much of it later. But yeah, there's a lot of things that they can do between the running backs and the tight ends to compensate for the fact that they don't have big numbers right now at receiver. But like you said, I mean, you're talking about the same amount of guys they had for last year's bowl, and things worked out okay.
Right. I mean, they're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're going to have 6 scholarship receivers ready to go from all accounts, right? So 6 is more than enough for one game. It's not enough for a season, but it's more than enough for one game.
Right. Who's going to win the Heisman, Vince?
I would love it if Michael Penix won the Heisman. I think SEC bias will take over and Jaden Daniels will end up winning it. And he is not who I want to win it because I don't want Brian Kelly to have coached a Heisman
to get on his resume
winner.
That he's got a Heisman.
Do not
Mike
want
Denbrock, man. Mike Denbrock became a hot commodity.
Now, see, that's the difference, though, because I love Mike Denbrock, and I would love for him to be associated with a Heisman Trophy winner. But I think I would love Penix to win it, but I think Jaden Daniels is going to end up making that happen.
I think I saw that A&M made a big push for Denbrock before they ended up with.
I believe it.
With the Kansas State,
he's a good OC, man.
I know
he made it hum at Cincinnati, and he obviously did a great job at LSU.
This is why, Daniels, Nix, and Penix all have great numbers, but Daniels has over 3,800 passing yards and over 1,100 rushing yards and 50 total touchdowns and completed 72% of his passes. That is just insane.
The offense was not the problem down in the Bayou, folks.
No, they didn't lose because of the offense.
No.
Not at all.
No.
And I think Marvin Harrison is a good receiver. I just don't think he's got the numbers to back. I just don't think that he was Heisman worthy type receiver year.
He didn't show up against Notre Dame, or they shut him down.
True.
Whichever route you want to take on that, that's one of the biggest games they had this year, and he was non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Heisman worthy to me. Sorry.
I agree. He had some big games, that's for sure. But what about Army-Navy? Big interest there?
Because it's football, I'll probably have it on. It's usually at noon too, isn't it?
I think it's at 3.
Oh, is it at 3? So I'll be able to watch most of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I have.
I usually, tune in, tune out, kind of see what the score is.
Yep.
Whatever, that kind of thing.
And it's in December, so sometimes there's snow. It can be one of those types of games. I'll tune in to see because they probably have cool uniforms, for this game. And I do like.
That's actually what I like to tune in to find out. Okay,
yes.
What do the alternate uniforms look like? Who's got the cooler ones?
I do think it's pretty cool when they all march in at the beginning and they do their formations and stuff on the field, and then they head up into the stands and stuff like that. So I really do enjoy the pageantry, and I do like how the president sits on one side for the first half, the other side on the second half. And, I like some of that tradition and some of that stuff. So
right.
I will tune in. I don't know how close I'll be paying attention to the actual gameplay, but I will tune in.
I don't think I've ever watched start to finish, but again, tune in, tune out,
right.
Kind of check in. If it stays close, I'll come back for the fourth quarter,
right?
That kind of thing. But it's we called option football for a few years on the radio.
Yes,
it's tough. Two option teams head to head, that can be tough sometimes. I'm a little bit more fond of the aerial, the forward pass. Thank you, Newt Rockney, for bringing that to the table in college football. All right, well, I think that is going to do it for our special Friday edition.
I know that I had the heart out, but I'm going to throw this one up anyway because I think this needs to be asked. Okay. Paul Olmstead says, IB staff poll on what your favorite Christmas movie and is Die Hard a Christmas movie. So far, Brian, yes. Ryan, no. Sean, yes. For me, it's not Christmas until Hans falls from Nakatomi Tower. LOL. So the question really is Die Hard a Christmas movie? What do you say?
I've always fallen in the no category. It is a movie that Christmas happens to play a minor role in. There's a Christmas party and there's a tree. Other than that, and some eggnog, I guess. Other than that, there's there's not a real Christmas theme. It's a great action movie, but it's not a Christmas movie.
I totally agree with everything that you just said. It is not a Christmas movie. Sorry, all the people that are going to be upset with us.
I mean, I do love the fact that it always comes on in December, because
this is
there
true.
Are people who consider it a Christmas movie.
But you and I just swayed the vote for IB to say no, by the way. 3 no's, 2 yeses. The no's.
Majority.
I guess we got to ask Jesse. We'd have to ask Jesse what his opinion is. But the answer is definitely not.
I concur. All right, well, that's going to do it. Thanks for being here tonight. We obviously don't do Friday shows on the regular, but with the Blake Fisher news, we jumped in and thought we'd have one today.
Yeah.
Had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a great weekend. We'll see how the Heisman goes. My pick was Jaden Daniels, I think, by the way, in case I didn't make that.
Oh.
Daniels wins the Heisman, I think. I'm like you. Penix is probably the guy, that I've kind of pulled for. I just don't think that he's probably going to get the votes to do it.
I don't think so either. I look, Jaden Daniels is a worthy winner. Like I said, my only beef is that he played for Brian Kelly. He's a worthy winner. That offense was him. He was the offense. You can say what you want to about neighbors and whatever, but he was that offense. So, I mean, that makes a difference. It makes a difference.
Right. I mean, I'm going back. Tommy's calling me un-American now for saying Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, and it's like is a Christmas Story, like is it a car movie? Like
because there's cars in it.
because they broke down the car and they changed a tire. Like I don't know. Like it's not a Christmas movie. It's a really good movie. It's actually I've got it on my DVR and I've been waiting to watch it. But Die Hard, I'm talking about, not Christmas Story. It's not a Christmas movie. Just get off that kick.
We can, as it gets closer to Christmas, you and I can talk Christmas movies because I've got some very controversial takes that I'm sure people remember. But
yeah, I know. We'll have to have. I think Festivus is on a Saturday this year.
Oh, is it really?
We might have to do a special Friday Festivus on the 22nd.
I love it. We always celebrate.
Oh, I'm gonna be traveling on the 22nd. Maybe on the 21st.
Okay,
we'll have to do. I don't know.
We'll have to
early Festivus. We'll have to figure something out.
We're gonna have to figure that out.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you Monday on IB Nation Sports Talk.